dreams and are committed to helping you pursue yours. I'm Madeline, and today I have the honor of introducing Michelle Vande Hey. Michelle is an entrepreneur at heart. She has been in the natural health industry for 10 years and has recently shifted from health coach to holistic life coach. Take it away, Michelle.
Thanks, Maddie. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And when you hop on, feel free to say hi. I'd love to know who's all watching. And I'm going to get started right in with motivated is overrated. And I used to be someone who thought all I needed was motivation to grow and to move and to achieve my goals. And it definitely worked for a while. But when I really look back, I've grown a lot, but most of my growth didn't happen when I was motivated. And motivation definitely helped me move, but it was really only for a moment that it helped me move. And I definitely achieved some goals, but they were never any big goals. Hey, Terry. Hey, Lindsay. Thanks for joining. And I also know that the sooner you take action with something, the better you're going to learn it and actually reap the benefits of what you're learning. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I also know that you're probably going to feel motivated throughout this talk and probably right after. But if you're like me, my daughter's going to run in my office and have a question for me, or my husband's going to have a question for me, or I'm going to have an urgent email to answer. So my goal is that you leave here equipped to use what you've learned and to not just say, oh, that was really nice. So get a pen and paper handy. Don't scroll through Facebook or Instagram. Be focused here with me for this 20 or 30 minutes and not somewhere else, and do it for yourself, not for me, because this is going to turn into a little bit of a workshop for you. All right, I'm going to share a little bit of my story, and it took me hitting a very low point in my life to have this epiphany. And I'm going to share with you part of my story that is pretty sad, but I don't want you to feel pity for me or let yourself sit in this sadness throughout the talk. I'm just sharing this part so you kind of know where I'm coming from and where this whole talk really came from. And as much as I pictured myself doing this, being able to see you all face to face, I am glad for this platform because I'm definitely going to keep it together much better than if I was standing in front of you today. So in October of 2018, my son died in his sleep and he was 12 weeks old. And it was definitely the worst thing that ever happened to me. But I can stand here right now and honestly say that I would not be where I'm at today had it not been for what I've learned after losing him. And yes, I would prefer for him to be here. But I can't change that. So what I can do is be thankful for where I'm at today and where my life has come since then. I finally got to a point about 6 months after he died, which was March of last year, that I decided I just couldn't take it anymore. I was sick of feeling stuck in depression, stuck in the anxiety of who am I now? What am I supposed to do next? Does what I'm doing right now even matter? I was writing my monthly newsletter and I decided I just needed to talk it out. I grabbed my phone and recorded one of the most honest and meaningful videos I've ever recorded. And I actually shared it. It was about how being motivated is overrated. And that's where this whole talk came from. So today I'm going to walk you through a 4-step process for setting your goals and 2 key components to achieve them in order and not be relying on motivation to get there. And yes, I'll be done in about 20 or 30 minutes. So if you're ready, say I'm ready in the chat because I can see your chat and I would love to hear you say that you're ready. So most of us have been thrown for a loop these last 2 months, right? Our lives have turned upside down. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you're on furlough or you're on unemployment now. Maybe you have a business that can't be open or you're running at 20% capacity. There isn't a single person that hasn't been affected by the coronavirus. We've all had a big transition in our lives recently. Yay, I love to see that you guys are all ready. Thank you. When big transitions happen, things start coming up in our lives that we were able to push down before when our lives were running at a more quote unquote like regular pace. Not only that, but we have so much uncertainty moving forward. When will I go back to work? What are we going to have to do differently now because of all of this stuff that's happening? Because moving forward, it's going to be different no matter what. I love how many of you are ready. Thank you. Uh, what about our kids going back to school? Are they going to go back to school? Are they going to be able to go 5 days a week? How much virtual learning are we going to have to continue to do? Because I don't know about you. I've got a daughter in kindergarten, and we don't have to do a whole lot, but it is stressful. And just thinking about the uncertainty can be stressful. What about the family vacation that you planned about 4 weeks before Safer at Home started, like we did, that we're still hoping we can go on? All of these things, there's so much uncertainty right now. What most people have been going through these last 2 months is exactly what I was going through about this time last year. I don't want you to compare losing a job or any of your experiences to anyone else's experiences. And losing a job is definitely not the same as losing your child, but the emotions that go along with it and the feelings that go along with it are very, very similar. And the stuff that we have been pushing down and been able to kind of work through because we haven't had all of these conditioned things come up are huge. And these things are coming up for so many people. All of these unexpected things, we're starting to maybe lose our identity a little bit, especially if your identity was reliant so much on your work. Or maybe you're someone who's like working extra because of this as well. Everyone's lives have just changed so much. So there's a lot of people that have started suffering from depression or symptoms that 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 look like depression and anxiety, and all of these things are popping up for people right now because of the uncertainty and because we've been thrown this loop of something that we weren't expecting and just can't believe what it's done for our lives, really. So when this happens, we can't rely on motivation anymore to get us out of bed. Raise your hand or say me if you've had a hard time getting out of bed since Safer at Home started. Or say me in the comments if your regular morning routine has been really hard to stick to lately, or any routine that you had before is really hard to stick to. I know for me personally, I've been watching more Netflix at night and staying up later, and then I don't want to get up in the morning to go work out. And these things get more and more difficult because we're lacking that motivation. So how do we not rely on the motivation to actually start doing something and doing something that's valuable and important? So that's what we're going to start doing right now. So I'm going to share with you the 4 steps to achieving your goals. So if you want to put up my slide, that would be great. Thank you. So these are the 4 steps to achieving your goals. And most of these are not necessarily something new. But we're going to go through this. But then on top of that, towards the end, I'm going to share the 2 key components to this. So the 4 steps are to pick a goal, to make a plan, set a deadline, and reward yourself. All right, I'm glad I'm not the only one feeling these feelings. That's good that we're all being honest. So what we're going to do, here comes the workshop part. I know I said it was going to be like a workshop. So we're going to make a wish list. Oh, I need to slow down a little bit. I'm getting excited. We're going to make a wish list. I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. Typically, you would want to do this for at least 5 minutes. And this small portion is coming from my planner that I absolutely love called the Passion Planner. And it's what you do at the beginning of setting up your year. But so I'm going to have you guys write down lifetime, 3-year, 1 year, and 3 month. Put them across your piece of paper like that, or if you want to do them in a column straight down, that's fine. And I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. And what I want you to do is write down a wish list of everything you want to come true. Think of it as describing your ideal life. And ask yourself, if I could be anything, do anything, or have anything, what would it be? Okay, are you ready? Go ahead. 1 minute starts now. All right, it's been about a minute, and that's the longest minute ever to sit through something and not talk. So it's been about a minute. And hopefully you kind of separated them into lifetime, 3 year, 1 year, and 3 month. And this is something that's important to do. It gets all of your ideas out of your head. You don't want them to be stuck in your head. Now, you're just going to take a quick 10 seconds while I'm talking and decide which one is going to make the most positive impact on your life right now. Most likely, it's probably going to be a 3 month goal, but pick any of them. And if you want, once you pick it, put it in the comments and share that goal. And what's important is you want it to be something that excites you, but also scares you a little bit. For me, this time last year when I was feeling depressed and unmotivated and all that kind of stuff, I signed up for a 10K. I signed up for the Twilight 10K that's run in Madison over Memorial Day weekend. And this was in March. And it seems like a distant memory now with the coronavirus, but do you remember the polar vortex last year? That's basically when I signed up for this thing. It was cold. So running outside was not really a fun thing to do. And I don't have a treadmill. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't have run on it because I do not like treadmill running if I don't have to. So for me, it was my 10K. I signed up for this 10K. I had run two others before. They didn't go very well. And I knew that if I wanted to change, I needed this to get me out of bed because I was depressed, I was unmotivated, I was eating like garbage, I was not sleeping well, and I was rarely exercising. And so I knew this is what I needed to push me. Consistent with fitness, love that. Organized house, okay. Finish the user experience. You started in December. There you go. I love that. All right, thanks for sharing some of your goals. Now, we are going to work on step 2, the plan. I'm sure most of us have heard this before, but if you haven't, a goal without a plan is just a wish. And I found that quote very interesting because we just made a wish list, right? Because really, they are just wishes until we put a plan in place to make these goals work. So I'm not gonna help you make your plan right now, but I want you to realize that we do need to make a plan. What I typically do is I look at what I need to do each month and then break that down into what I need to do each week and then break that down into what I need to do each day. And you want it to be as detailed as possible. So again, going back to me running my 10K, I needed to run at least 3 times a week. And then 2 other days a week, I needed to do some sort of exercise, some light lifting or anything, or yoga, stretching. I needed to eat anti-inflammatory. I needed to be in bed by 10 p.m. and I needed to be diligent taking my vitamins. Those are things I knew I needed to do. And then I set out that plan. The third step is to set a deadline. You need a deadline. Most of us know we need a deadline. Why? Because who here waits, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, to do what you need to do until it gets close to your deadline? I know I do. I'm going to be really honest with you. This talk that I'm talking with you right now, even though this has been on my mind for over a year, I didn't actually put pen to paper and write this talk out until just over a week ago. But that was partially because with my coaching business, I had a huge 9-day long workshop that I did just 2 weeks ago that ended last week, and I was working on that for a month. But when you have that deadline, all of a sudden your focus just becomes super clear and it helps you focus very clearly. So now for the last week and a half, it's just been all about this talk, getting it right for you guys. So we need that deadline. Nothing gets accomplished without a deadline. I've actually had to stop asking my husband lately because he's only working half days now. I've been asking him to do things. And I'm like, why isn't he getting any of this stuff done that I'm asking him to do? And it's because I never asked him when to get it done. Because right now, again, we have all of this uncertainty. And it's like, well, I'll have time to do it tomorrow. For those of us that are working less, it's like, well, I've got time to do it tomorrow. So why would I do it now? That's why, again, we can't rely on that motivation. We need these things to be put in place to help us. And so now I've started framing my to-dos, my honey-dos, to say, hey, honey, can you do this? And I'd like it to be done by tomorrow, or I'd like it to be done in the next 3 days. So then he knows what my expectations are. We can't let we can't assume other people know what our expectations are. So make sure you let other people know what your expectations are. And then the fourth is to give yourself a reward. For me, this is back and forth, I guess. I sometimes really enjoy the reward, and sometimes a reward isn't enough to move me and to move me in the right direction. But so for running my 10K, my reward at the end was honestly just like feeling good. I really wanted to feel good at the end because I had run two other ones that I did not feel good at the end. So for me, it was getting a medal, but then I also said I was going to get myself a massage. It's got to be something that you wouldn't normally do if you didn't accomplish this goal. So you got to give yourself something that's actually going to excite you a little bit. So are any of you motivated right now? Are you any of you kind of excited, writing down your goals, maybe starting to make a plan, you're getting a deadline? If you're motivated, put I am motivated in the comments. Right? I kind of said at the beginning, you might get a little bit motivated throughout this. And that's great. But what I'm here now to share is how important it is to not just rely on the motivation. Discipline is doing things you know you need to or must do, even when you don't feel like it, even when you aren't motivated, because you know you need to do them. And it's because of these two key components, your why and your accountability. So the stuff that we just went through, that's the external stuff. That stuff is necessary. You need a goal. You need to make a plan for your goal. You need to set a deadline. And if a reward helps you, you need that reward. Awesome. I love that you guys are motivated and excited. But they're not the only thing. We need to go deeper within ourselves and not rely on our willpower or our motivation or ourselves. We need to find a why. And we also need that accountability. Accountability is so important. Accountability, it can be getting a friend to help keep you accountable. Or better yet, hiring a coach. And I know it sounds strange for a coach to say, hire a coach. Like, of course I'm going to say that. But honestly, until I actually hired a coach and spent more money than I was comfortable spending, I was not doing the things I know I needed to do to help my coaching career. And that goes back to the setting a goal that scares you a little bit, but excites you. I was super excited to start on this holistic life coaching journey, but it scared me because of the money that we spent. Oh, and by the way, we spent this money right before Safer at Home and all this stuff happened. Just the same time that we spent all this money on paying for our family vacation that may or may not happen at the end of the year. But so accountability is super important. The other thing you can do is start or join a group. My friend Lindsay, who's on here, started this 100 Miles in May group, and she invited me to it. And it's so funny because for me, I wasn't like thinking about it, but then I was like, yeah, I would like to get out and get moving more, especially with the, long winter. It seemed like it happened. And I've been going for more walks with my family now because of this group. And it's been really helpful for me to say, hey, let's go for a family walk. Why not? I'm going to track it, and maybe it's an extra mile, but I get that extra mile in. And if I'm doing it a few times a week, that's an extra few miles I'm getting in a week, and that's keeping me more active and keeping my family more active. So that's where accountability is so, so important. I'll tell you, though, that if getting 100 miles in May was really important to me, and I really wanted to accomplish that, I would need either Lindsay or someone in the group to say, hey, you need to check in with me every single week. Like, you need someone to actually check in with you and say, hey, if I didn't accomplish my goal, I need you to tell me and say, hey, what are you going to do to make up for the miles that you're missing? Because I looked it up and it was like, oh, it's about 3.2 miles a day. And so that's where you set your goals and all that kind of stuff. But so that accountability can really get you moving. But now what we're really going to focus on is your why. So I'm going to have you do another thing. I want you to draw a circle. And then inside that circle, draw another circle. So you're going to basically be drawing a target right now. And you want to be able to have some room to write inside those, or you can just write alongside and kind of point to them. But we're going to drive a little bit deeper into your why. Why? So what is your goal? For me, my goal was running my 10K. So I had to ask myself, why do I want to run this 10K? And for me, it was, I just wanted to feel healthier again. So I wrote wanting to be healthy on the outside of my ring. And then the next question I had to ask myself was, why? Why do I want to be healthy? And for me, when I thought about it, it's like, well, I don't want to be depressed anymore. I'm sick of feeling depressed. I don't like this feeling. So I wrote that on my circle. On the next ring in, right? You keep asking. And then I had to ask myself another question. Well, why don't I want to be depressed? Well, I don't want to be depressed because I don't want to have to get an antidepressant. I wanted to just feel like myself again. And then there was one last question I had to ask myself. You guessed it. Why? Why don't I want that? I why don't I want to get an antidepressant? Because I want to feel like myself. I want my identity back. I felt so lost. And you might be feeling so lost right now, too. And if you're feeling lost, you need to ask yourself, why? Why is this goal so important to me? And when you get close to that center, that bullseye, it should choke you up a little bit. If not, make you cry. Because if it doesn't, it's not a driving, heart desired why. And when things start getting hard or unforeseen things happen, it your motivation won't push you enough to keep you moving forward. That's why you need this driving desire why. So you need to be like the little kid that you know, that you tell them something and they go and they ask you why. And then ask yourself why again. And continue. Go why until you're starting to choke up about it. And then that is what you tell the person who's keeping you accountable, that when I am not hitting my milestones for my plan, you need to help remind me this is why you started this. This is why you wanted to do it. And this is why you're going to finish it. So that is a big, big reason that you need to find that why. And this why, let's go back. Your why and having accountability, those are two key components for achieving your goals. That's what's going to help you dive deep within. The external things are necessary, but they're not enough. You need motivation to accomplish your goals if you only have those first four things. Your why and that accountability are key and crucial to help you actually achieve your goals when you've run out of motivation, because we're all running out of motivation. These are going to be things that push you where an inspirational quote is going to be exciting. I love inspirational quotes, but I read it and then I move on to the next thing and I'm not motivated as much anymore, right? We lose that motivation very easily. Motivation comes and goes very easily. Motivation makes us feel great, but in the end, it's not enough to help us achieve the big, hard goals that we need to achieve. Remember, I used to rely on motivation, and motivation helped me achieve goals. But if you have a big goal that you want to achieve, don't leave it up to chance and don't leave it up to your motivation. Ask yourself why. Get your burning, driving desire why, and get some accountability. Because even me, even though I have a burning, driving desire why I want to help women who've lost children, I still need accountability and I still need someone to say, hey, you can do it, even when you have this fear. So I'm going to leave you. I love when I go to people and they leave me with a quote or something to think about. And I don't want you guys to think that this is pretentious or self-serving in any way. But when I went to start putting pen to paper for this talk, I watched my video that I recorded that I talked about, and I watched that, and I wrote down a quote. And so I'm going to leave you with a quote of my own from that message. But again, that message was one of the most honest messages I've ever recorded. And it is this: anytime you want to do something that is important, you're going to need more than motivation. Thank you all for being here today. And I hope that you take these things and really apply them to your life. And I hope you really worked through this. And if you're watching it not live, I hope you can pause it and replay it and do this all over again. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today. I know I was taking a bunch of notes and I was filling out my circle, and I did have to like pause. And I was like, all right, we'll come back to this. I also really loved your shout out of sharing your expectations. I got married in October. And I was just like kind of thinking about some of the pain points of the first few months of marriage. And they totally, some of them could have been avoided if I would have just actually shared an expectation. So that did make me smile. And my husband can hear this too, and he like perked up. He was like, "Really?" The joys of working from home when all
Yeah,
our
right.
so I really appreciate that shout out, and it's really fun. I'm my mom's accountability partner for she's trying to hike every day
Oh,
in
awesome.
she lives in Eugene, Oregon, so there's like this little whatever bump a hill that and so she calls me every day when she's going, and I always remind her of like the goal that she set, so that's kind of fun, both ends. So thank you so much for coming on today. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming on. Please like or follow our DreamBank page. We have a lot of fun activities coming up. Have a great Monday and have a great week. Thanks so much.
Yes. Thanks, Maddie.